Hello, my boon companions. It's me, Nikki, and I am back with my historical book series, and this time it's the medieval books. And we got a big stack here today, so I'm extra excited because I just found out there's a medieval-a-thon. So I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm very excited. I love medieval stuff. Alright, the first book is, I suppose it's more Renaissanceian, but I have stuck it in the medieval category, and that is The Poison Garden by Karen Harper. It's an Elizabeth I mystery. It happens, I think it ends with her becoming queen? Yes. So, Elizabethan, medieval, same thing. And it has Elizabeth, who else? I think Cat, sorry, and a Meg. I believe Meg looks like Elizabeth, and everybody's confused. Probably one of Henry's bastard children that he didn't talk about, because they weren't boys. And there's a guy, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Queen Mary wants to get rid of Elizabeth, as do a bunch of other people, and they say that Elizabeth has poisoned Mary or somebody near Mary, and it's up to Elizabeth and her ragtag group to find out what the fuck is happening, because Elizabeth hasn't done that. Maybe she will in the future, I don't know. But I liked it. I like that Elizabeth was essentially the main character, but it didn't, like, because I've got a couple others in here that have kings and queens, but they're not, and they're like they're a character, but it like revolves around them. Elizabeth was actually doing stuff, which probably wasn't in real life, but she was solving this mystery herself and with her friends, and I liked it. I like Elizabeth. Next we have, we'll do these together. Well, we'll do this one first. The Novices Tale by Margaret Fraser, and A Play of Isaac. They're set in the same world. This one is about Sister Frevis. Ooh, I butchered that. I know I did. Who is the hostetler of the priory. She's related to Chaucer. It's 1431. So Geoffrey's dead, but I think his son's in this. Oh god, do not quote me on that. And a Lady Ermintrude dies at the priory when she's visiting her niece, Thomasina. And then it's up to Sister Frevis to figure out what happens, because Lady Ermintrude is not well liked, so a lot of people could have done it. She basically takes over the priory, and Sister Frevis is like, okay. And I like this because I think this was like one of the first medieval books, mysteries I read, and I like that the sister takes no shit and she gets shit done, and she's like, yeah, I can sort of do almost anything. So I like that. And it's cute. Like I said, it's a cute little thing. And this one is about Jolliffe, who shows up in later books of this, and he is with a troop. It's 1434, so a couple years after that, and he's with his troop, and they're going to do a festival in Oxford, and they only did religious plays. And they get asked by a wealthy merchant to come and do plays for him and his family. But then a man is murdered, and they're suspected because they're the outsiders. So it's up to Jolliffe to find out what happens. I believe Jolliffe also might be a bit of a spy from what this says, which was probably common back then. I liked it a lot, obviously. The one thing I thought was interesting is, I believe the man who dies is the eldest son of the wealthy merchant, and he has, I think he has Down syndrome, because he watches them play. Lewis is his name, and he watches them play, and the way that Jolliffe describes him is almost like Down syndrome, and he's, how old is he? He was going to be in his 20s, Lewis, and I guess that's surprising because in the medieval times they didn't live very long, and I think they said he acted like people like that were angel touched, and he acted like a child. So I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if this would happen in real life, because he was the eldest son, Lewis. He was actually going to marry someone and take over the family business, which I thought was strange, because I felt that they would probably in real life, maybe this was a real life thing, but I feel like people with Down syndrome in the 1430s, probably that wouldn't have happened to them, but I don't know. I would actually love to know. I should look that up, because his fiance actually likes his younger brother a lot more. Not because Lewis has Down syndrome, just because she likes him more. And he's, like, I don't know, it was interesting to me, and I liked that as well. And of course, Jolliffe solves the mystery. Next we have The Alehouse Murders by Maureen Ash. There is a Templar, Basco, de Marins. Let me find out when this is, because it doesn't say. 1200 AD. And he was in the Holy Land, and he's come back, and he's got a sidekick whose name I can't remember. I think he found him in the Holy Land, or he found him somewhere in France, and is sort of taken him on as a squire. And he goes to Lincoln, and there's a fair, and then 4 victims are found dead in the alehouse. And everybody's like, no, the fair is happening, but this can't be. So Basco is called upon to discover what the fuck happened. But because it's like a midsummer fair, the killer can mingle. But Basco figures it out. Oh, I don't remember. I believe it was who died. It might have been 1 woman who died and 3 men, but I don't remember. Nothing too gruesome. Like, none of these are too gruesome. So that's good. But yeah, it was good. I'd like to read more. Oh, and look, they got the little, like, depiction of what had happened in the alehouse. Focusing? No, that's okay. But yeah, and I love these covers of stuff like this. Fantastic. Next we have Fortune Like the Moon, a Hockenley mystery by Alice Clare. This is about, where is it? Abbess Heloise, or Heloise, I think. Heloise of Hockenley, and Joss de Aquin. Oh, I butchered that. work together. Joss is sent by King Richard I, Plantagenet. So this is when he's king. I like this. It's got a nice little map of the abbey, which is a real abbey, I believe, because I just finished the second one, and Richard's mother, Eleanor, showed up, and she's the benefactor, and she did that. She created lots of abbeys after she was let out of her castle, or wherever Henry kept her. So a young nun is found dead with her her throat cut, sorry. And they think I guess King Richard released a bunch of felons to appease or impress his new people. Didn't work. And they think, so the people in the nearby village think it's one of them. But Joss and Heloise, they just get along. They have really great chemistry. He totally respects her brain. Like, she thinks of things and he goes, that is a great thought. And she totally respects him, and they work really well together. And they're not, like, afraid of anything. Well, they are, but they're, like, not really. They will do anything to solve this mystery. And the second one was really good as well. It's fantastic. Next. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want everyone to read this. This is what got me into medieval mysteries. Not this particular book, but this series. And it is Death and the Chapman by Kate Sedley. It is a Roger the Chapman mystery. The first one I read was the 7th in the series. And it is about Roger, who is a Chapman, which is a peddler. And he travels through England, maybe Wales and Scotland, but mostly England, and he sells silk, lace, buttons, needles. You know, like, he'll buy stuff in York and then go sell it in London, or he buys a ton of stuff in London and goes and sells it everywhere else. So he can get into houses, he can talk to people, and he's got a great mind. He can read and write, which people are always surprised about, but he trained to be a priest, but then it just wasn't for him. He likes the open road. And he's very good at solving puzzles. He's a bit dumb sometimes, like in some of these books. He's like, I saw that coming, Roger, why didn't you? But he's also very trusting, so that's sort of where the dumbness comes from. And in this one, a wealthy alderman is missing his son, and so Roger goes to find him, and he runs into some royalty, because this is set in 1471, so it's Edward the 6th, before Richard the 3rd, because Richard is in this. Roger has a great affinity for Richard. His mother keeps saying they were born on the same day. He just really likes Richard the 3rd, and he's always happy to help him. So this is great. You could basically pick it up anywhere in the series. Like, I picked up the 7th one, and it's a sequel, like almost a direct sequel to the 3rd one, I think. But it doesn't really matter, because he sort of explains himself in the first chapters, and it's almost like a diary where he's an old man and he's writing down all of his tales. There's 21, I think. None of them are very long. They're all 20 chapters. That might be 22. I don't remember, but they're not long. Kate Sedley hasn't written anymore. I think she's older, so she might not have as much time to write as she used to. But I would still recommend these. They're my favorite. Next we have my second favorite. Yeah, 15 minutes. And there's 1, 2, 3, 5 more books. Mistress of the Art of Death by Ariana Franklin. There are 4 of them. I believe Ariana Franklin died. And I think I read her daughter is trying to finish, because Ariana Franklin is a pseudonym for someone else, so her daughter's trying to finish those books, so I don't know if we'll ever get a 5th one. But this one is great. It is set, Henry II has killed Thomas Becket. I was going to call us Thomas de Becket, but that's not right. Thomas Becket. Not just, but it's been a while, but people remember. And, it's in Cambridge. 4 kids are murdered. Guess who gets blamed? If you said the Jews, you're correct. And Henry II is like, no. Because he lets the Jews in because they give him money and stuff. It's not that deep. Henry II likes money, whatever. And he's like, no, they didn't do it, but we can't have a fucking riot. So he sends for, somebody from Salerno has a medical school. I believe they do. I don't know. It's probably true. They accepted anybody. Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, male, female, Greek, Italian, French, whatever. Doesn't matter. If you want to learn medicine, you could have gone there. So, they send Adela, who is a woman, obviously, and she's a prodigy. She's a Mistress of Death, basically a coroner. So when she goes to England, she can't practice. She brings along a man whose name I cannot remember. But he's been with her forever. Oh, Mansour. I believe he's Muslim, and he might even... There's something else about him, but I can't remember. But he speaks Arabic anyway. But he may not be Muslim. But they all think he is. And so Mansour pretends to be the coroner, and then she translates. He just talks in Arabic gibberish, and then she translates, i.e. she says what she's found. And there is someone, Sir Raleigh Picot maybe, who works with her and knows that she's the actual doctor, not Mansour. And, Adela isn't overly brave, but she is brave, but Rowley has all the sword fighting ability, and they basically work together to find out what happened, who did it, and why they did it. And I have to tell you, the ending of this one and the second book of this fucked me up. It will fuck you up, okay? You're like, wow, that is an ending. So read it for the ending and read it for everything else as well. Okay, I can't stack the books because they're gonna fall now. Okay, 4 more. We can do this. We can do this, kids. Next we have Death Comes in Epiphany by Sharon Newman. This is set in France, so something different. And it is in 1139. And that might be my oldest one. This is probably my oldest one, like, in time. And this is about Catherine Lavendure, who is a scholar at the Covenant. She doesn't really want to be in a convent or in a convent. She doesn't really want to be a nun. She just really likes to study. And her and her sister is like a normal medieval woman. Her mother pretends she doesn't exist. And her father is a merchant, and he's like embarrassed by her, but he still sends her to this place. She just likes to study and learning, and she's taught by Heloise of Abelard and Heloise, the forbidden romance of the era. And I believe, yes, here it is. A book surfaces that contains sacrilegious passages, and it's going to be used to condemn Heloise's lover, Peter Abelard. So Heloise sends Catherine to this church and her hometown to find the book and get it back, because they're separated. Heloise is in the convent, and Abelard, I believe he's a priest, but they both teach and stuff. So, and then there's like some stuff going on with the building of the church, and they've altered the text to suggest that Abelard is doing it when he hasn't. And a young man helps her, who she comes to fall in love with, and it's a really cute romance, but it's not like the main focus. There is some moments where Catherine is in danger from men, possible threatening of rape. I can't remember off the top of my head, but nothing too horrible. It was just a really good book. I enjoyed it. I enjoy all of these. Okay, this is gonna be like my longest video. We have the Harper's Quine, Gil Cunningham murder mystery by Pat McIntosh. This is Sutton Glasgow, so something different. And it is in, let me find out, 1492. Again, a nice little map of medieval Glasgow. And Gil is a lawyer and notary, but his family want him to enter the priesthood. And he finds the body of a young woman. And he knows who she is. He's seen her before. He even apparently saw the murderer, but didn't know it. And, he's working with a French master mason, Maestre Pierre. I butchered that, I apologize. And they begin asking questions, and Pierre's daughter Alice is in there, and they fall in love, I believe. And there's did I say trail or trial? I can't read, folks. It's been a long time. There's a second murder, and it's just a great book. I still don't know what a quine is, or a quin. I love this cover. Isn't that a great cover? And stuff happened. Like, after a while you read these medieval mysteries and you're just like, they all sort of blend together, but they're still good. And now talking about them, they've all blended together. And I read this a long time ago. And it was just a good book. I like, because a lot of, like, Roger is poor. Jolliffe is, so Roger's a Chapman, Jolliffe is a player. Elizabeth's a queen. There's a nun, a Templar, an abbess and an abbess, coroner, almost nun, but not quite, and then a lawyer. It's just great that they can do all of these things. And it's still new and fresh and interesting. Oh. Alright, these next two are good. They're all good. Hangman Blind by Cassandra Clark. This is set in 1382, excuse me. Richard II, I believe, had a murder. Who was in this? Is there a queen in this? Can't remember. And she's in Yorkshire, and it is Hildegard. She wants to have her own priory. Again, some cute, nice little maps. I do love a good map. And she finds 5 bloody corpses, like hanging, and then separately the body of another man. And she's like, what? And so she tells people, and then like, oh yeah, they're just all Wat Tyler's people. It's fine. And she goes to her childhood home, where there's more intrigue and stuff involving families, like fathers and sons and brothers. So, and I like her because there's a guy in here who's like the archbishop of the area, and he tries to browbeat her, and she's not taking it. She is seriously not taking it. And when she goes to see him and all his people, a woman storms in saying that her husband is dead, and like these soldiers and people or churchmen have taken like all of her animals except for a cow. I can't remember. And then Hildegard follows her out and is like, hey, you wanna join my nunnery where no man will ever tell you what to do? And the woman's like, yes, I do. So that's great, because Hildegard's like, no men, please, thank you. And of course, because they're not, some of them are connected, but not all of them. Oh, there is an attempted rape scene in here, but she gets away. So, but the men are drunk, and they know she's a nun, and they don't care, or they don't know that she's a nun. Either way, it's still a horrible attempted rape scene, and she's terrified. And there's 2 dogs in here, and I think they turn out okay. I can't quite remember, but there are dogs. This is it, fam. The last one. Veil of Lives, a medieval noir. This is set in 1384. So 2 years after Hangman Blind. And it is Crispin Guest. And he is... he was a knight, but he was convicted of treason and stripped of his rank for plotting against Richard II, which I believe was a real thing that happened. And, John of Gaunt is in here, who Richard the Third and everybody is descended from, ? Don't quote me. But anyway, Crispin is down on his luck, and guess what he is? He's a private detective in 1384. So he goes, a cloth merchant thinks his wife is cheating on him. Classic noir, right? And shit happens. His client ends up dead. Classic. He comes to the unwanted attention of the Lord Sheriff of London. Classic. International intrigue, dark secrets, missing relic. Classic. And yeah, it's just like if they made a 1930s noir movie in medieval London. That's basically what it is. Like, there's a femme fatale woman that he likes but he can't have, and it's just really good. So it's great. I loved it a lot. I didn't, like, it says medieval noir, and I was like, yeah, okay, but it's very noir. Like, if you've seen a noir movie or read a noir book, this is noir. So, pick that up if you like that. I like in the last video, historical fantasy, and this is medieval noir, and Chef's kiss. It's lovely. Oh gosh. Anyway, thank you for watching this very long video with me babbling about books that I like. Let me know if you've read these, you're gonna read them, or if you don't like medieval mysteries at all. I would like to know your opinion. Thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day. Goodbye.